now that you've heard a little bit about who we are, both as individuals and as a national organization and as a chapter, we'd like to open it up for the folks in the Zoom meeting to introduce yourselves, maybe tell us, where you're from, maybe your favorite native plant, and what your interests are in our chapter. Would anybody like to go first, or I can call just around the screen?
I can go first.
Okay, Robin.
So I met all these folks through the Southern Maryland Native Plant People Facebook group, where I'm an administrator, and I'm a part of the first Calvert County Watershed Stewards cohort. They're on their second cohort now. So if you're in and around Calvert County, definitely look me up and I can talk to you about your, hopefully help you with your yard drainage issues and help you pick some native plants for your yard. My favorite native plant is jewelweed, and I'm hoping to work on event planning on I don't know, what is the committee called? Event planning? I know you're planning out a couple of committees, but I have a lot of ideas for events, and so I've been working with Sue on some North Calvert or North area events, and that's really what I'd like to do, in addition to, of course, talk incessantly and nonstop about native plants. So
that's what we all like to do, Robin.
I know, all day long, if I could.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? How about you, Tracy? Tracy's a guest tonight.
I am a guest. I'm very impressed by all the credentials of the folks in the group. So I'm here, I guess, representing College of Southern Maryland. I met Marlene because she's been really helpful with our bee campus and bird campus initiatives with some of the programming we put on. I know Lynn Wheeler from way back when we started the initiatives. Lynn helped us establish the gardens on campus, but the interesting thing about the Bee and Bird Campus at CSM is that it was kind of started by faculty members that really don't have a whole lot of background in either one of those things. Paul Billiters, my partner in crime, he couldn't be here tonight. His background's in oceanography. Mine, I teach mostly general biology and anatomy and physiology for CSM. I have an animal medicine background. So we are very excited about the initiatives, and we've been learning a lot along the way, but I've really relied on you folks like you guys to help us keep those things going and try to grow and improve them. So that's why I'm here, trying to capitalize on partnerships.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm glad you joined us. Jan.
Hi, I'm Jan Goldstein. I just moved to Southern Maryland about 1.5 years ago. I live in Accokeek. My background actually is in, my first degree is in horticulture, and later I have a master's degree in landscape design from, I think, the original sustainability landscape design program, Conway School of Landscape Design. I worked as a landscape architect for Arlington County for 20 some odd years. But the native plant thing is pretty new to me, really, and I spent the last year digging in as much as possible because we have lots of opportunities down here in Accokeek. We're on 6 acres. So it's pretty exciting. And I'm a recent graduate of Master Naturalist. So just went through the program this last summer. And I am actually officially a member of the National Capital Chapter of Wild Funds. I started out with the Chesapeake chapter. Sorry. Like I said, there's some people outside doing some work, and this is not a good timing for him. Anyway, I'm thrilled that this chapter is getting started again. Corby, cut it out. That's enough for me.
I think he started acting up when you mentioned you were a member of the nation's capital chapter or the capital region. But you're more than welcome to join our meetings, and if what we're doing here um, encourages you to want to change chapters, we're all about that too. And Laura, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. My name is Laura Ross. I am a St. Mary's County resident, mainly just a home gardener. Started getting interested in native plants during the lockdown when I was actually doing a lot of bird feeding, learning about how to support the birds, in my own yard, growing native plants, and kind of just went from there. My favorite native plants are the cardinal flower, to see the hummingbirds, and then the white turtle head, just because it looks really cool.
Laura brings up an interesting point. I wonder how many people get into native plants because they want native birds. They want wild birds to come to their yards. That's probably what got me into it. And even though I've always been interested in xeriscaping, I wanted to learn more about birds, and to have birds, you have to have plants.
This is Lynn, when you get into birding and you're in so many of these marvelous natural areas, that was when I even first got more exposed to ephemeral plants. And then the whole circle came together.
Yeah, that's a really interesting avenue in, probably for a lot of birders, because I would imagine in ornamental landscapes you just don't see the variety that you would see in natural marshlands or natural forests.
Yes.
Native forests.
And the whole thing, when you really become aware of the native plants as a host plant, for our insects, and how that all comes together. Quite eye-opening.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And our last person to join is Jimmy Rogers, and he is a guest tonight. Jimmy, would you like to introduce yourself? We were telling people where we're from, our favorite native plant, and whatever else you'd like us to know about you.
All right. Well, I'm Jimmy Rogers. I'm unfortunately unlikely to join the chapter because I'm part of the Greater Baltimore chapter. But I know y'all are getting yourselves organized, and you're only a little bit ahead, or we're only a little bit ahead of you in terms of only being around as a non-seedling chapter for I think a few months now. And I'm over in Laurel, Maryland. So I'm down at the very bottom of what could be considered Greater Baltimore. I always kind of stretch the rule a little bit, but we don't have a lot in PG County here. And I found that to be a good community. I'm a native gardener around town. I write a column for the local newspaper, and I do a lot of native gardening. Try to basically build a garden every season or two. And my favorite native plant, it's a terrible question because I love all the native plants.
Being your favorite child?
Yeah, but I have 150 children. I guess I'm trying to think what's I'm thinking about right now. I have everything is covered with snow right now. It's hard to think of anything. But I was going through seeds yesterday because I'm going to be putting some seeds in our free little libraries around town, sort of associated with Bee City and City, but it's mostly just to get people to do winter sowing. And I gave somebody some wild quinine, which is a really cool native plant. I would say it's almost not viable. I've seen it at Chesapeake Natives before, but it's an interesting plant with kind of white balls that form, and wasps love it, and so it gets a lot of activity. And yeah, I don't know, just that's me. Hello.
Jimmy, is Laurel considered coastal plain, or is that more up it moving into the Piedmont area? I guess I'm not really sure how far west the coastal plain goes from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, one of the things that's neat is we're right on the fall line. And the
Ah,
reason I know that is that 95 passes right through Laurel. And if you look at the edge of the coastal plain, it's pretty much 95. And that's because that's where you build roads, is on one side of the fall line before you get into the ugly territory. And so Laurel is pretty much 50-50 across Piedmont and coastal plain. And I consider that fair game to plant anything found in those two ecoregions, at least, you know, in our fairly artificial environments of a residential garden.
do you find that you have any trouble with one way or the other? Like, do Piedmont plants do better than coastal, or is it really location specific and plant specific?
So I guess for me, there's like a difference between coastal plain and like really the beach. And I guess if you're like, this is a plant that needs to be on the beach, like it needs to be in very sandy soil. Like I think about like bearberry as an example of that. It's like a low growing kind of, you go and you see it when you're at like the dunes and stuff. That's for me a little bit more of a coastal plain specific plant. But if you look at the lists of plants found in coastal plain and Piedmont, there is a lot of overlap. And like I've talked to somebody about beach plum. That's another one I think of as a coastal plain plant. And I was talking to a grower, and they're like, grows anywhere you put it. It's really easy to grow. So I think it's more like where they occur versus will they survive other places is probably my guess. But like, I haven't really run into like problems.
So Jimmy, I wanted to mention that I was at a winter sewing workshop at the Bee Lab on Saturday, and I saw some containers labeled for the town of Laurel. And I got real excited, and I went over to the person who set them down and I said, "Is Jimmy here?" So do you know Jimmy Rogers? And she goes, "Oh yeah, I've worked with Jimmy on project," and it was Liz Humes. So Liz was there planting some sowing some seeds for the Re-Meadow projects, I guess. And it was nice meeting her.
Yeah, Liz is great. So, great person to know about for anybody who might come through our way, because she's a horticulturist that just got hired by the city. But it's like if one of us got hired by a municipality, it's somebody who's just 100% on the same wavelength. She used to work at Patuxent Refuge and frankly was challenged to find a job and get to do what she wanted to do and, you know, make a living. And she found this job. And so now she's working at Rec and Parks, and she's really having to take on this huge amount of labor to keep all these different little park gardens alive. But in the meantime, she has little places she can start to make changes and grow plants at lower cost, perhaps, to be able to bring into the city. Because I think she is trying to figure out how to get enough stock to plant their little sign gardens that have a sign in the middle with something other than a pansy or something. So but it's a slow, like just a little side thing. The mulch that we use in the city is reclaimed wood, which basically is like leaching just everything into the ground. And she's like, everything I plant in this dies.
Oh,
And so she's like, she apparently gave a presentation like, look, this is bad. And here's all the chemicals we're probably leaching into our beds. Can we stop buying this stuff and put any other kind of mulch down? So that kind of
cool.
stuff.
Okay. So we'll just open it up to anybody who has a question or would like to contribute anything.
I'd just like to say how impressed I am with how you guys have gotten this rolling. Clearly, a lot of work has gone into it. The seed sowing was just impeccably well organized and excellent. So I have really high hopes for this chapter and appreciate you guys taking it on.
Well, thank you.
There were several good suggestions in the chat. I think Jan mentioned that she might have a good venue for a native plant chair. I think it was Jan who did that one. And
perfect venue.
Excellent. We'll get a hold of you to maybe set up our fall one. And then I think it was Laura that suggested on the March Garden Chat agenda, talking about native plant retailers. Where can you go to get native plants? And I thought that would be an excellent March discussion topic, especially for a lot of people that are new to either gardening or gardening with native plants. And there are some good sources in Southern Maryland.
Jan, the pavilion you spoke of, is that the Hollyfield Family Pavilion?
Sorry?
Is that the Hollyfield Family Pavilion that you were talking about?
Well, it's the Wagner Pavilion, but John Hollyfield pretty much is in charge of it. Here in the Moyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you been?
No. I just pulled it up online and saw it. It's a pretty pavilion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Hollyfield maintains it, but it's the Wagner Community Center. Oh, I mean, has it actually been named the Hollyfield Pavilion? I didn't know that. If that's
Yeah, it's the Hollyfield Family
Yeah.
Pavilion.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, no, it's really wonderful. And Antonia, who was on briefly at the beginning, she and a few other people have been responsible for planting a lot of natives around the pavilion and around the community center. So I think it would be a wonderful location if it pans out for the fall.
Thank you.
And one thing I neglected to mention, only because it's just happened in the past few days. I mean, we are just constantly just rolling through stuff. When I went up to the winter sewing workshop on Saturday at B Lab, they mentioned that they offer space in their hoop house for folks who are interested in germinating native seeds. And then once they have grown to the point of needing potted up, they can pot them up and put them in their fenced-in enclosures to grow up through the growing season, to have plants for the fall. And I was so interested in this opportunity, I signed up for their email list and told them I wanted to reserve a space for Wild Ones Chesapeake Bay. So actually tomorrow I will be going up with Bill, and we're going to take a load of seeds that we've collected and cleaned with our students down here and go through the process of how they do it up there at the B Lab to get some things stratified. Actually, tomorrow is the cold stratification for seeds that need 60 days or more. So we're going to be learning how they do their cold stratification process. And then I guess we'll go back in a month to do the 30-day seeds. And then at some point we'll go back and actually do the seed sowing. So I'm looking forward to that. And also being there at the B Lab, apparently they sow many more seeds than what they can put to use. So even there will be opportunity for other types of native plants other than what we sow ourselves. So I have an extensive list of seeds that I've collected from various native plant gardens here in the area. We collected from Butterfly Alley. We collected from the front yard at the Leonardtown Library. We collected from our own gardens. And I sent this list to Lynn to look at, because I kind of look at Lynn for guidance as to what we may want to stay away from, especially if we're offering seeds or plants to other gardens. So Lynn reviewed the list of seeds that we have, so I feel much better knowing that we've got a good selection of seeds to start with. And Lynn has also offered, I think, to maybe propagate some for us. So I think as we work with partners, we'll have some material to offer. So I'm looking forward to that, because I know that's one of the things that a lot of folks are looking for, in addition to some actual labor and some help in installation and some guidance on, then what maintenance is involved or things like that. I think just looking for donations of plant material. So I think we'll have something to offer in that regard moving forward.
can chime in a little bit. I've been out to the bee lab at this Sam Drogi's lab, which is if you've ever basically bought a book that has like a picture of a bee with like a black background, it's probably was taken at that lab. He's a pretty nationwide wild bee figure, and that facility used to be the Whooping Crane research facility, one of the sites. And when it was shut down during the Trump administration, they were like, what do we do with this space? And so they turned all those bays into growing spaces. And Marlene, I think you buried one of the big leads of this, which is it's irrigated. And so they have a sprinkler system set up in each bay that just goes off every day. And it really is. We've grown plants out there with laurel for the Patuxent, which is like a small, pretty local ecological group here in Laurel, and we grow enough to be able to give out plants for 4 hours at the Main Street Festival, just hand over fist, because there's a very large space you could grow into. They have basically infinite space that they could use because they have all these bays and they don't use them all, I don't think. And people there are very knowledgeable, and they have days for going up and potting up, and it's a whole thing. So also Sam's emails are very entertaining if you're going to learn soon, but he has an interesting writing style. So that's a great partner.
Yeah. One of the things I want to ask him when we go up there, I want to ask him if he's ever thought about doing photography of native seeds. Because when we were with the students at Forest Tech, one of them pulled out a microscope and started looking at seeds. And the structure of the partridge pea under the microscope lens just astounded me. It looked like craters of the moon. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, somebody somewhere has to be doing, microscopic photography of native plant seeds. And if not, got to find a way to do that. And, I missed saying one of the other partnerships we have with Bonaterra and Nurture Natives. We volunteered there for 2 of their seedling giveaways this past fall. And in doing so, we became the first community-based plant share from Bonaterra. They gave us seedlings for a plant swap and plant share that was hosted in at the Front Yard Library in Leonardtown back in October. And we're already on their radar to get native plants for 2 events in the spring, one of which is Nurture Natives, a community event at a public park and pavilion in La Plata. I believe that's in May, and then also Maryland Day, which I think that's in April. And all of these events, I believe, are on our website. Oh, no, those aren't on our website yet because those dates haven't been officially confirmed. Or they might be on the website. I have to go look. But anyway, definitely check out either wildones.org, the calendar of events, or our chapters events roll over onto our chapter page, chesapeakebay.wildones.org. And keep an eye on the events because I imagine they will grow exponentially as we get into the active season. But again, we'll try to send out emails to the chapter members too to keep everybody up to date on what's going. And if anybody is interested in coming up to the Bee Lab tomorrow, you're more than welcome to join me. I can forward the email from Sam with the directions. It starts at 3. And they say they schedule it from 3 to 6, but with it getting dark, it's still winter. They probably will finish up early. They don't expect it to go until 6, but anyone who'd like to join us there, you're more than welcome to. And yeah, just again, keep an eye on our calendar events, keep an eye out for our membership survey. And if there are any other questions or anything someone wants to share tonight, feel free to chime in.
Good job, Marlene.
Oh,
Good
thank you,
job.
Lynn. This is a group effort. I can't take credit for any of this individually. I think I have told the founders more than once that folks who are our founders, our new directors, were my first choice. And I was just so happy that they all accepted. They wanted to jump in this full steam ahead. And I'm hoping we can make a big impact here in Southern Maryland. And if no one has anything else, I
Actually,
guess
I have a request from Lisa Garrett in North
Mhm.
Beach. She's the
Mhm.
conservation coordinator. She wants to do an oak tree giveaway with oak seedlings. So if any of you have oak trees in your yard, you know you probably have hundreds of oak seedlings that you might not have gotten to yet. Please don't pull those, and let's talk, and I can make some plans to come and get them and put them in little pots. I'll find out her timing on that. It's later in the spring, but I know in my yard I probably have 100 I could pull up. But anyway, if you have them, don't pull them yet until you talk to me, please.
Okay, maybe what you could do, Robin, maybe you could put together a little something that would kind of like describe how to, I don't want to say pull them because that might not be the right term,
Yeah, I
but
need to
how
find out
to,
if she wants bare root or if she wants with, in potting soil.
yeah, yeah. That'd
Okay,
be
yeah,
great
let's
because
find out.
I pull hundreds of seedlings. We have an area that's under oak trees and all kinds of trees, and I just go and pull most of the seedlings in the spring because there's no way the property can support all that come up. And I'm sure the deer would come through and browse them all anyway, but um yeah, I've probably got plenty I can donate to. Tulip poplars, I get a lot of those.
I'll find more details from her, how tall she wants them to be versus, you know, how many she needs and whether she wants them bare root and cleaned off or, can can they come with the surrounding soil and so. But I'll let you know. I'll put it all into an email.
Marlene, would you be interested, or the group be interested in hearing about the bill that's being advanced to ban invasive species from sale in Maryland gardens and centers?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a topic we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about. So Greater Baltimore Wild Ones, and frankly, if y'all want to be part of this too, I think you'd be very welcome, are part of a group called the Maryland Native Plant Coalition, and it is specifically a grassroots organizing, let's pass some bills into law kind of group. And it's made up of Towson Green Alliance, Sierra Club Maryland, and Maryland Native Plant Society. And really the big representative there is Judy Fulton, who, if you've read Invaders of the Mid-Atlantic, the book, she's one of the co-authors of that. But basically that group, we are advancing a bill. We have a sponsor in each chamber of the State General Assembly. And it is the key bill for one of those sponsors. And we are basically going to say everything that's on the tier 2 list that's supposed to have like a warning sign just moves to prohibited. And then the process, this is the part we haven't really shared a lot about, but I can get into the weeds with you all a little bit. The process for getting things onto the now just one list prohibited goes from being months potentially per species to days, like 2 days. And for a biologist who's doing a special kind of assessment that has to go through. And so the actual process of assessment would drop by an order of magnitude, and the rate at which things could start moving onto that list would really speed up. So it immediately, as soon as it took effect, start the clock on certain plants, and then it would also eventually, there's a whole bunch of pre-assessed species that are kind of ready to go into the hopper. So it's a pretty important bill. There are some both political and administrative hurdles to getting it passed. So we're going to really need like every native gardener in Maryland to pretty much write their representatives at the right time. So we're waiting on bill text right now, and it's in the legislative services. So we don't have bill numbers, we don't have the final language, but it's going to go to committee probably this month or early next month is our guess, and then it'll shortly thereafter hit the floor and need to go through votes in both chambers. So that group, I'm just going to put a link to kind of our best reference, which is on the Facebook page, ban MD invasives. And then we actually have a talk tomorrow. So if anybody's interested, all the details are on that page, but there's a talk by Judy and Kirsten, and also the two representatives from the General Assembly will be there as well. Talking through the bill, talking through a survey that we did last year about what species were impacting people the most, and kind of giving you all those details you might be interested in, which plants are where and all that stuff. But and then just how to stay informed so that we can kind of get things rolling when the right time comes.
Jimmy, do you know, has there been a press release? I was thinking of, I'm trying to put like advocacy types of information on our website. And if there's a press release or something that I could draw from, I'd be more than happy to put that on the website.
I've written like I'm kind of doing the social media for this thing. I've written a blurb or a elevator pitch that is sort of like a proto press release. We don't have bill numbers yet, so we've kind of held off on like finalizing that. We probably will have a press release, and I could send you that. I could also send you that pretext if you need it sooner for some reason, like you have a newsletter going out. But yeah, we're hoping to get that together a little bit better. Otherwise, kind of what you see on Facebook is sort of our latest. But yeah, that is coming. By the way, this will eventually, we're going to have a mailer that, or a tool run by the Sierra Club that will take people to look up their representative, generate an automatic thing, and allow you to email through that. It's also very effective to call in. Apparently, that gets you a lot more points in the system if you call your representative.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I want to say it's been my pleasure meeting with everyone tonight. Hopefully, we'll be getting some more information out to the chapter members more regularly with now that the growing season's starting and folks want us to get involved. So we'll be sending out those volunteer opportunities. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Do our member survey and email us if you have any questions.
And we did do the recording, so I will, once that downloads and I get it saved, I will send it out to the people who attended the meeting tonight.
And we'll probably see if we can somehow get it up to YouTube too.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, they did mention that during the chapter resource training last night, that some chapters post their meetings on their YouTube channel. So we'll give that a shot.
Okay, good
right,
night,
folks.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
You know.
Bye.
Good night.